Hey guys, so it's been a while since I introduced my unboxing video of the EDgun Matador R5 in long version, and I have the super long here. So it's time for a full review and some accuracy testing, so stay tuned, there will be some interesting things coming. Okay, so I will just briefly describe what this gun is all about, what's going on around here. Finally we got some good weather. There might be some wind, so sorry if the sound is not so good from time to time. So let's get on with the review. Okay, I won't give you every detail about this gun, because you can find that in either ads, videos, or on the web pages, wherever you want. I also won't tell you the price, because it's different with each distributor, so check this out on your own and I'm sure you'll find what you want to know. But if there is any questions for me, just leave them down below and I will try to answer as soon as possible. Okay, so let's get through this one. So this is the long version. So I think it's 59 centimeters barrel length. The super long is 700 millimeters, so 70 centimeters. And this one is, let's say, for a bullpup it's a big gun, but otherwise it's not big, it's not heavy, it's very ergonomic, it's nice to shoulder it, it's nice to put your hands on it. Super long is not that much worse. It is slightly longer in front, so meaning that the balance will be maybe slightly worse, but not so much really, because it is a bullpup, and bullpups have this common thing about them, that balance is they're never front heavy, because everything is pulled back and you have the heavy stuff in the back, so that's why they usually don't feel heavy even if they are. So let's get to the features. So some of the features that I really like are, for example, the fact that this has a Picatinny rail, and the rail itself is already sloped, so it's tilted downwards, so it enables you to very easily compensate for that pellet drop in extremely long ranges. That I like very much. I believe that the tilt is 30 minutes of angle. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I believe that's the figure, which is quite a lot. I actually get with this gun, at 100 meters I can put the scope at its optical zero, and I have a crosshair dead on. So that's really nice, but you should be careful if you want to sight it in at a closer range, so let's say 20 meters, because you will have to dial the scope fully down, and maybe it won't be even enough if you dial it fully down. So in that case, be careful not to force it to go too far, because you can damage the scope. You can compress the spring too much, and then it won't retract afterwards when you set it higher again. Otherwise, I think it's a really nice feature. Of course, Moderator, which is this time huge. By the way, this is the first Matador that I have in my hands, so I don't really have comparison with the old ones. So if any one of you wants that comparison, I'm not the guy to give it to you, but you can comment below, and again I will answer your question as soon as possible. The Moderator is really nicely built, and of course it's a typical EDgun offset Moderator, and you have baffles in front, and this is empty volume in the back, and you have venting holes here all around it. So meaning that once you take a shot, those gases will be redirected back, and they will come out of these holes around it, and of course slightly also from the front, from the muzzle, and this makes it an extremely quiet gun. And I mean, this gun is, I haven't seen such powerful gun so quiet, so it is extremely quiet. Actually all the noise you basically hear is from the back side, so from the spring and the hammer hitting the valve. Okay, let's move on. So it has a cylinder reservoir, which is of course regulated. Now mine came courtesy to Francisco from EDgun Spain, came fitted with Huma regulator, which are great regulators. Now there's nothing wrong with the original EDgun regulator. Actually, I think that one works phenomenally because I have that one at home as well. The only upside of having a Huma is that you gain a little bit of air volume because they are smaller in construction, so they take up less space in the cylinder. I already mentioned this same feature with Leshy, and with Leshy this really comes into play because it's such a small cylinder, but this cylinder is much bigger, so it's not that big of an issue. If I were you, I would probably stick to the stock one, unless you really want to play with the settings and things like that, for which the Huma is better because you have labeled pressure, so you can adjust it to whatever you want. Okay, so let's go to the back side. So this design is quite, let's say, aggressive and new age style, let's say. Well, all bullpups are slightly more new age because they're not that common until recently. I got a spider here. Especially for airgun, I'm speaking. And this design actually its purpose is to bring the action as far back as possible to make the gun still short despite having a relatively long barrel. And of course, this design works. This feature is satisfied by that design. And there is a couple of things that this design brings, and one of them is the looks. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. I must say that at first I wasn't really into it, but now I've gotten used to it, and I kind of like it. I mean, the bolt is truly, when you shoulder it, it's actually by your neck, so over your shoulder already. But this doesn't make any difference because this is a single shot gun. Basically, you have to load every pellet, so you're not gonna repeat your shot each time. So it doesn't matter because you have to take it away from your shoulder anyway. Cock it, put a new pellet in, close it, trigger it, right? So it doesn't make any difference for you the fact that this is so far back. But what might be a problem, and this you should be careful about, is the fact that when you shoulder it, it might happen that you push the bolt up with your shoulder and leaving your bolt unlocked, of course. And if you take a shot with bolt up, of course, the bolt will be slightly pushed back and you will get a slight breeze of air here. Now, nothing to worry about. This actually did happen to my colleague once. He took a shot and this happened, and he just said, okay, this shot, there was something wrong with this shot, but he didn't know what. So it's not a big deal, just something that you should pay attention when you shoot. You have a sort of a sling for a sling, so stud for a sling. I'm not sure if this would be a stud, but you have a possibility to attach the sling on the back. The stock is very comfortable. It's flat on the bottom, so it's ideal to put sort of in artillery hold or put it on a sandbag or something like that. I really like to shoot this gun of sandbags. It's really nice, it's comfortable. Now the thing I don't like is the grip, and this is typical EDgun grip. I don't like this cutout. This has the same feature as with Leshy, because the middle finger is the longest anyway, so it wraps even further around it, and the pinky hardly gets to the other side. So that's not really the design I like, but nevertheless the gun is still really nice to hold in hand. Also the criticism that I had about the trigger in terms of sharpness, this bottom part of the trigger is extremely sharp. Now you especially have to pay attention if you take the trigger guard off, not to cut yourself on this bottom end of the trigger. Okay, so let's go back to this rear part. There is another thing that I really like about this part is the fact that it's extremely easy to take off. So all you do is unthread this screw, take it whole off, so the whole bolt assembly you take it off, and then you have direct access to the barrel. Not only that, you also have access to the O-ring, and you can also clean the barrel from the rear side, which is great. That is really a nice feature. We will do this in just a second. Safety, it's ambidextrous. You have it on both sides. Up is safe. When it's up, you cannot cock it. When it's down, you can cock it, and you can put it on safe when it's cocked, and you cannot pull the trigger. So this is a nice feature. You have safety in both positions. And another feature I like really a lot is decocking. So if you have the bolt fully back, then if you pull the trigger and I don't have it on safe now, it's off safe, I cannot pull the trigger, nothing happens, right? But if I put it just slightly forward, then I can decock it either by holding the bolt and pressing the trigger like this, or I can just pull the trigger and the bolt just moves forward slowly enough not to open the valve. So decocking is really nice. Okay, so trigger is really nicely adjustable. There you have two settings that you can adjust from the without removing anything, actually, through these two holes. So I believe those are 2mm Allen keys. So everything in this gun is done by Allen keys. So basically all you need is a set of metric Allen keys. From this set is from 1.5 to 10mm. Basically you would have enough from 2 to 12 would be optimum, let's say. So these two adjust your trigger. Let's say the most important two features of a trigger. With the back one, you can actually adjust the length of pull of the second stage. And if you adjust that so it's so short, sorry, I'll explain this again. You can adjust this length of pull of the second stage to be short or even non-existing. So basically you can adjust it so far that you have a single stage gun. And if it's a single stage gun, then the trigger is extremely light. If you put it to two stage, then you really have to play with this accurately, with this screw, in order to have the very short pull of a second stage, and the second stage is not too heavy to pull and too long, of course. And the front one is actually the trigger stop setting, and this one I really like because a lot of guns don't have this, and this basically lets you adjust where this trigger blade will stop. You can actually adjust this one so it stops so fast that you even cannot pull the trigger. So of course you have to know what you're doing, but the thing that it's nice about this feature is that you can actually adjust that the trigger doesn't move at all anymore back once you just pull the shot, and that makes really a good option for additional accuracy, because if you have a two-stage trigger, that means that at a certain point the trigger will break and it will release the tension on your finger, and once it does that, you might jerk the gun a little bit because your finger will slip a little back with the trigger, and all other movements you can make, jerks you can make because of that slip. But if you have it set so it stops immediately after the shot is taken, then you don't move it at all. So this is a really nice feature. Okay, so I mentioned the cylinder, a very important feature, and the new one I believe is the new gauge, which is actually digital. You can check on YouTube how to set it up. Basically it's a really simple design. Everything is set by not one, but with a press on the display itself. There's a button on the bottom part of it when you press it, and if you press it once you will get the status of your pressure, but you can also program it so it shows you how many shots you got left, and it's a sort of self-learning system. Again, I won't go into details here, but it's a really nice feature because you can have information regarding your how many shots you got left and a lot of different features. The filling port. Oh, by the way, this EDgun gauge, digital gauge, is actually available from EDgun also as an add-on, so you can purchase this one and fit to any of your gun, any gun you choose. The filling is done by EDgun fill probe. You just rotate this part, which snaps into place, so it's a sort of dust cover. You can cover it on each side or in the middle, expose your fill port. The cylinder is built to withstand 300 bars, so you can charge this gun to 300 bars. I believe the stock regulator, so if you have an EDgun stock regulator, is set to 145 bars. I'm not sure about that, you can check about this if it's correct. And the one I had in all of my shootings inside, so it's from Huma, and it's set to 135 bars. So slightly lower pressure because the plenum is slightly larger. Shot count is quite big, quite amazing. Actually, it's one of those guns if you don't have it set to some extreme powers, that it really makes no difference if you know the shot count or not, because you're just gonna keep shooting. You forget how many shots you took before you have to refill. So, but you will see in the video I had this one, the long version, set to just over 250 meters per second. So that's, I think, about 840 feet per second about. And I just kept on shooting. The shot count was just incredibly high. Okay, so I think I covered most of it. If I didn't, I'm sure that you will correct me. Maybe one thing I was a little bit disappointed when I received those two guns is the fact that when they assemble it, there's a nut here that holds the barrel in place. Actually, I can show you that because we're going to do a little bit of disassembling now anyway. So I will just take the moderator now off. So untighten this. Okay, so just so you see, these are the baffles, off center of course, and over here is the nut I was speaking about. So in here, this is a 12mm Allen key, and in order to remove or replace this barrel, you have to unscrew this one. And when I got it, this nut was so tightened on, so somebody used too much force, that actually the whole barrel was slightly bent down and it was touching the cylinder. So this was tilted down and it was touching the cylinder. Actually, you can see here where it made some damage, not really damage, but scratched a little bit the cylinder cap. So definitely when you got it, I recommend that you untighten this one and tighten it only at appropriate amount so it's not bent down. But otherwise, I don't have really any real complaints about it. So let's go to the rear part and I will show you how you can very easily clean it. So again, you need Allen keys. Just unscrew this rear screw. It is better if you cock it first and put it to safe. That's the best option. And then you can close the bolt and unscrew it. Otherwise the hammer is in the way. So I got the bolt off, and now you just take everything off and be careful not to lose these parts in the bottom. Anyway, there is an O-ring that seals the barrel right in here. So this is also a very nice feature. in most guns you have a groove for O-ring. In this case, because this removes off, the O-ring is just put in. So if you need to replace it, just take it out and put another one in. It's that simple. And also a very nice feature, now that you have this exposed, you just clean the barrel from the rear side. Although I would be careful and not use a brass brush, because this rear part is actually also made from brass, so you might scratch this one. So I would use some nylon brush, and afterwards, of course, only some solvents and some cloth or whatever you use for cleaning it. So this is an extremely nice feature. Just take it off and clean it. And we will also take the stock off, because I want to show you also the other options to adjust the trigger. So 2 screws, one in the back. I've already shown this in the previous video for replacing the regulator, the valve assembly. So you can also check this video if you want more details regarding how to do that. Okay. Okay, so now we are at a couple of things we have here to adjust. One of them is adjusting the power. We will get to that later. And second is more adjustment on the trigger. So I already mentioned the front and the rear one. The rear one is to set the length of the second stage, or even to make it a single stage trigger. The front one to adjust the blade stop. As I mentioned, this is the sharp part, so be careful that you don't cut yourself here. And the additional adjustment that you have for the trigger is actually this nut. Let me just zoom this in a little bit. So this nut is actually how tight is this spring, and the front part is also a nut. So basically you can rotate this whole rod. If you rotate it towards the right, so in this direction, then the second stage will come sooner, so you will have a shorter first stage, or vice versa, you will have a longer first stage. But this is usually, there is some thread lock inside here, so you won't be able to rotate it just by hand. You'll probably need some tools to grab it and twist it, turn it. And so this is also a very nice adjustment. The thing you should know, when you do this, you will also have to correct the position of this rear screw, because the point in where the trigger breaks will be different, of course. So either you will have a very long second stage, or the second stage won't come at all, or just adjust it after you adjust this one. And also, if this one is not, if you can freely rotate it by hand, I recommend that you put just a drop of thread lock on this part in the front. That will make sure that this doesn't that it doesn't change position while you're shooting, and the trigger remains as you set it. Okay, the rear part, so this one is for actually adjusting the power. So I will just decock it now. So I will hold the hammer, and I will take it off safe and pull the trigger and release the hammer forward. So this is the hammer now. Okay, so over here you need 10 millimeter Allen key. So all you do is put in the Allen key, and you rotate it clockwise to decrease the power, or anti-clockwise to increase it. And you have clicks. You have clicks so you know where you are. According to my tests, the optimum velocity for, let's say, pellets like regular Kings, which are lighter, so 25 grains, the appropriate setting was 5 whole revolution from minimum. So go clockwise 5 full revolutions from minimum, and you will have about 900 feet per second with 25 grains JSB's Kings. If you're using Kings heavies, then I would go up to 7 full rotations. Regarding accuracy, what you will see later on in the video, in general, this is my general rule, and it has proven to be accurate here as well. You can go with the regular Kings, the 25 grains, you can go up to 290 meters per second. That's it. It's about the maximum velocity in which they are still accurate, so still stable. So usually the biggest problem with high velocity in pellets is stability. And with JSB King heavies, you can go up to 260, 270 meters per second. So let's do both of these in feet per second. So 290 is about about 950 feet per second. So for Kings. For King heavies, about 850, 880. That's the maximum. If you use JSB King Heavy MK2, then you have to use even slightly lower velocity. Those go up to 250 meters, so that's about 830 feet per second or something like that, maybe a little less. So make sure that you don't go with velocity too high, and this gun will be extremely accurate. So that's it. I explained the important parts of this gun, most important features. I sure hope I didn't leave anything out. If I did, I'm sure you will warn me about it. Enjoy the video. Keep in mind that where I shoot, I almost never have a day when there is no wind, and also the wind is highly unpredictable, so I always get deviations. So I got groups about the size of 2 centimeter size at 70 meters, but if there were no wind, the group wouldn't be any bigger than 1 centimeter. So keep that in mind. I'm shooting in real world conditions. When you will see the video, you will even see the amount of mirage and also the grass moving. So there are always winds here and never predictable. This is also partially why most of my accuracy testing is usually done at 70 meters and not 100 meters, because the 100-meter range, which is where I'm looking at in that direction right now, I actually have to set the scope towards the right for about two mil dots, which is quite a lot. And this is when I don't see any wind. So pellets are always getting towards the left side, because there is always the wind from the right to left. And when I switch to the 70 meter, it's vice versa. Actually, it's usually straight compared to the 100 meter, which goes to the left. So that's it, guys. I really like these guns. Last thing I will mention is something you can see I made myself on this one. So this is a super long. I actually bought this one, so I have a very interesting project coming up with this one, which I think you will like very much. This one is in 30 caliber right now. So I made this cheek piece, which is made out of some foam and cloth and Velcro, so it sticks on, which is really nice to have a cheek piece that you can lean on to, because now that it's warm, it's not a problem to push your face up against aluminium, but if it's very cold, it's not very pleasant. So that's it, guys. Enjoy the rest of the video on the accuracy, and see you next time. Please subscribe, share and comment below. Thanks.